To discuss confidence and the US economy, one of the best guests we can do that with joins us right now, David Rubenstein of the Carlyle Group. David, welcome to the programme, sir. I cannot think of many people more dialed in to corporate America than you, sir. Can you tell us where corporate confidence is at the moment relative to where it was only a few short months ago?
I'm sorry, the question is where we are in terms of the economy?
Corporate confidence, David. Corporate confidence coming into 2025, sky high. You're very dialed into the C-suite.
Yes.
Has it fallen off over the last few months, and why do you think that is?
I think the business community generally is standing behind President Trump in many respects. They don't want to criticize him any way publicly, at least most of the business people and the CEOs. I think privately they will say they are a little nervous about the tariffs and what the impact is going to be. They're a little nervous about the inflationary impact of tariffs. And I think they do have some concern about whether or not we might go into a slower growth period of time. Projections for growth are below 2% this year. We were 2%, 2.5% last year. So I think there is some low-level concern, but people don't want to voice it publicly. I think they just want to be supportive of the president to the extent possible. So I think that's what the business leaders more or less feel, in my judgment.
David, do you see a pathway for all of the deals that were supposed to be getting done this year to come roaring back in the near future, or do you think that those are really iced for the foreseeable future?
I think that the economy should do reasonably well this year, not as well maybe as it did last year. I think the uncertainties that the business community is living with are, one, what's the tax bill going to be? Two, whether the tariffs are going to go into effect or not, and how deep will they be or how significant they will be. And three, the geopolitical kinds of issues are, will Russia-Ukraine get resolved? Will there be more war in the Middle East? And will there be problems with China and Taiwan? I think the president, is dealing with all those issues, and I suspect he will spend a fair amount of time visiting some of these places at this point. Not too long from now, I suspect he will go to the Middle East in not too long from now, and I think probably he'll go to China, at some point this year as well. And right now, I think the biggest economic problem we have is uncertainty. What is the tax bill going to be? And is there going to be a slowdown in growth because the tariffs are scaring some people into not investing?
When it comes to scaring some people, I imagine the president has taken the temperature of Wall Street, of corporate America when it comes to those tariffs. The last week, we've heard him use words like he's willing to be flexible. He's willing to be lenient. Do you get a sense that this administration is prepared to maybe have some exemptions, be more lenient when it comes to April 2nd next week when they're coming out with their tariff plans?
I think the administration is not as ideological as maybe sometimes people think, and therefore I think they will announce what the tariffs are, but whether they'll implement them is another question. And I think the administration has used tariffs effectively so far as a negotiating tool to say, we will do this if you don't do that, and they get some of what they want as a result of it. So I'd be surprised if every tariff that the president is going to implement is going to go into effect right away in early April. I suspect some of these things will be used for negotiating purposes. And, in the end, tariffs have two problems that people recognize. One, it tends to be somewhat inflationary, and two, it tends to slow down economic growth. Now, sometimes they can be useful. In a mature economy, you usually don't see tariffs being raised very high by mature economies like the United States, but sometimes they can have some beneficial effects. Remember, we've been living with tariffs that were imposed by President Trump in his first term, and we didn't really change them very much under President Biden. So we've been living with some tariffs for quite some time. Whether additional tariffs will really hurt the economy is just too early to know, because we don't know what the size of the tariffs are and whether they'll actually be implemented.